Yo, what's going on YouTube? Today I wanted to talk about what I think the biggest problem with Baldur's Gate 3 is. Now, before I get into this, let me clarify and say that I do like this game a lot and I do think it deserved Game of the Year. That being said, the problem I have with this game is that you really have no power over the story. No matter what choices you make or choose, you will always go through the same exact storyline. And this, in my opinion, really goes against what the game was advertised to be. Now, you might be thinking, what do you mean? That's impossible. There are so many dialogue choices and so many side quests to do. And yeah, you're right. Those do exist in this game. However, the choices you make in those side quests or dialogue options only really affect that micro scale of the game, that micro event in this game. I'm talking about the bigger picture, the macro of the game. And when it comes to the bigger picture of the game, those side quests and dialogues don't really matter because your choices will always lead to the same outcome. Now, if you aren't familiar with this game or its story, I'm just going to give you a quick summary of it. Basically, our character gets kidnapped by these alien creatures called mind flayers, and they put like this parasite into our brain. And if we don't find a cure fast enough, it's going to turn us into one of them. So the whole story is like trying to find a cure for this. There's a lot more that goes on. That was a huge oversimplification of it. Eventually, you find out there was these 3 humans that were behind the plot the whole time. And once you get to the city, Baldur's Gate, the story just gets a little more crazier from there. But yeah, that's a whole oversimplification of it. But going back to what I was talking about, the choices you make along this journey doesn't really affect the narrative I just described. Nothing really changes about the Mind Flayer plot or the villains or the factions, and it's kind of annoying if I'm being honest. I didn't really like it that much. Now, to kind of show you what I mean, I'm gonna go through some of the bigger events in this game, some of the main quests in each area, just to kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about. In Act 1, specifically in the first map, the big quest here is a conflict going on between the goblin camp and the druid camp, and the choice here you can make is which side you want to choose to help wipe out the other. Now, this is arguably the biggest event in Act 1, right? And there's only 3 acts, remember, so this is 1/3 of the game right here. It should really affect the plot of the game, right? Well, it doesn't, like, at all. If you choose to side with the goblins, you not only have no change on the plot of the game, but you actually end up losing content. You lose 3 different companions with their own quest, and many other different NPCs to interact with throughout the game. The only thing you gain by siding with the goblins is 1 companion that doesn't even have a quest. So it's literally not worth it at all. But let's say you decide to side with the druid camps instead, the quote-unquote good guys, right? Well, you get 3 new companions with their own quest and a bunch of new NPCs to interact with. But the thing is, those characters, this whole event, all of this doesn't affect the plot in any way whatsoever. The impact you have as a character will still be 0. You could skip this place in its entirety. You could walk by, you can never talk with the NPCs, you can never gain any new companions, and nothing will really change about the story. You'll just go through it like nothing ever happened. Another big event in this game, which is also still in Act 1, is when you walk into the mountain pass and eventually into the Githyanki Krish. The main choice you have here is whether you decide to give their queen Vlaakith a prism or not. This prism is like a powerful artifact that they want a lot, but it's also something you need. So the idea here is like if you give it to them, you're forming an alliance between their queen and your party basically. But the same thing as last time happens here. Whether you give it to her or not, like whatever choice you make here, it doesn't matter. Because even if you give her the astral prism, she still tries to kill you anyways. So like nothing changes. She's immediately hostile to you no matter what. And even though this is such a big event in this game, not only for your main character, but also for one of your companions, you could just walk by this place completely and nothing in the main story will change. The narrative will stay the same no matter what. I'm going to start going a little faster for these next events just to quickly summarize it because I don't want to sound too repetitive with what I'm saying. But the next event in this game is still in Act 1. It happens in the Underdark, which is the 3rd area for Act 1. The main choice here, or the main quest here, involves this guy named Nier, and you could decide to free him or kill him. But the choice here doesn't matter anyways, because if you free him, he dies anyway later by some guy named Balthasar in Act 2. So the outcome stays the same. If you kill him, he dies. If you free him, he dies anyway. And just like before, you can skip this place entirely and nothing in the main story will change. Finally, going into Act 2, the main conflict here is between 2 different parties, one called Moonrise Towers and the other called the Harper Camp. When you first arrive here, specifically at the Harper Camp, you'll have the option to tear down their magical barrier and literally kill everyone inside. The idea is that by doing this, you will gain Moonrise Tower's favor and they'll become like your ally. But the choice here doesn't matter because even if you kill everyone at the Harper Camp, you will still make an enemy of the leaders at Moonrise Towers, and you'll be forced to kill them no matter what. So you basically killed all of these Harper campers or druids or whatever for no reason. Just an evil little massacre. Another big choice in Act 2 involves one of the leaders at Moonrise Towers. He tells you he wants this person called Nightsong, which gives him like his immortality. So you can do this for him. You can go to Nightsong and you have 3 different choices. You can either kill Nightsong, free Nightsong, or capture Nightsong. But the choice here doesn't matter. If you killed Nightsong, then the guy loses his immortality. He gets pissed at you and he tries to kill you, so you have to fight him. If you free Nightsong, Nightsong joins your fight against the leaders at Moonrise because she wants revenge, so you have to kill him. If you capture Nightsong, if you do what the guy told you to do, if you do what the leader at Moonrise told you to do, because, he wanted you to capture Nightsong for him. At first, he's chilled with you. He's like, oh, okay, thanks for doing this, man. You actually managed to capture her. Good job, bro. But then after a bit, he tries to kill you, and, you're forced to fight him anyways. It's kind of weird. I don't know why they did that, to be honest. Going into Act 3, there are 2 more events I want to talk about. Act 3 has a lot to it, but there's only 2 I want to focus on for this video. In Act 3, you meet this person named Orin, and she's one of the main villains in this game. She's one of the 3 main human villains in this game. She confronts you with this ultimatum where she kidnaps one of your companions and threatens to kill them if you don't do what she says. And what she wants you to do is kill the other main villain in this game because she wants all the power for herself. So she proposes this alliance where she'll keep your companion alive until you do what she says, and she'll release them back to you. But the choice here doesn't matter because even if you form an alliance with her or not, the same sequence plays anyways when you confront her. Once you approach her, she's about to kill your companion and you have to pass a persuasion check so she doesn't. Now, I've done 2 different playthroughs, one where I formed this alliance with her and one where I didn't. And once I walked to her, secret lair or whatever, she was still about to kill my companion anyways, and I had to convince her not to. So forming this alliance doesn't really matter. It's kind of pointless. It's just like a pointless thing in this game. I don't know why they even added it in the first place. I'm gonna be completely honest. I think Orin is a pretty trash villain. Like, out of all of the villains in this game, main villain, side quest villain, Orin is just not that cool at all. So I'm honestly not surprised that this whole sequence is just kind of dumb. And finally, I saved the best for last. This one right here is like the cherry on top. I cannot believe this exists in this game. It's like a perfect amalgamation of everything I talked about in this video so far. So the last villain you meet in this game is a guy named Gort, and he's supposed to be like the big bad out of the 3 human villains so far. He's the political mastermind behind everything. He's also a cruel dictator that rose to the top by, killing everyone and making people slaves. But he's just a bad guy, right? Now, he's a really interesting villain because out of the 3, he actually wants to form a legit alliance with you. There's this ability called Detect Thoughts in this game, and it does exactly what it says, where you can read people's minds. And you can use this ability on Gortash after he proposes this alliance. And you find out that he is genuine about his intent and promises. He doesn't want to backstab you. He doesn't want to kill you. He actually respects you because you're strong and you've been able to kill everyone else to get to this point, to get in front of him. He respects you for this. So I'm sitting here, right? I'm like, okay, this guy seems pretty genuine, maybe this can actually work out. The game is not gonna force me to kill him or whatever. Let's see how this plays out. Let's see how this changes the ending. Because keep in mind, this isn't like a small quest or anything. This is one of the main villains in this game. This is huge to the plot of the story. So that's what I do. I form this alliance with him, right? And he tells me to, kill Orin so I can get the other Netherstone and meet with him in front of the final villain called the Elder Brain, which is like this monster. So that's what I do. After I do everything in the city, I come to meet him and I come to face the final conflict in this game. And look what happens to him.
I allowed you to. You have played your part. The next order to be given is mine, and it is this. Die.
The dude dies in like half a second before the fight even starts. Like, bro, are you kidding me? The game is really gonna force this specific outcome to me and there's nothing I can do about it? What was even the point? I should have just killed him the moment I met him. I should have just killed every villain the moment I met him, because there's no nuance to this game whatsoever. Once you're done with that whole fight, you're basically done with the whole game, and no matter what choices you pick throughout the game, you're still presented with the same 2 options no matter what, where you can either destroy the Netherbrain or dominate the Netherbrain. Apparently there was some article before this game release saying there were 17,000 different endings, but that was just a complete lie. That does not exist. In reality, there's two different endings. I know it sounds like I've been hating on this game, but I'm just going to reiterate what I've said in the beginning of this video. I think Baldur's Gate 3 is a good game, but I also think that the narrative and the writing is not that good at all. What makes Baldur's Gate 3 so good is how immersive it feels. It's the voice acting, it's the customization, it's the armor, the weapons, the outfits, the amount of side quests you can do. Not the writing. The writing, I'm gonna say it outright, the writing and the main story in this game is just not good. It's not good at all. The Mind Flayer plot is completely garbage. But still, despite all that, I still think it deserves Game of the Year. Not because it's a critically acclaimed masterpiece, but just because it's very immersive and it's a very unique kind of game compared to what we got in the past couple of years or even this year. I also think that this might sound a little controversial, but I think in the future, once the technology to make these games become easier, some other studios and companies start to pick up the formula for these type of RPG games or whatever, I think we're gonna look back on Baldur's Gate 3 and realize that it did not age well at all. Because really, the story is just not that good compared to what other studios are capable of. I'm a firm believer of that. Now, I know I've been complaining a lot this whole video, but I do have some solutions or solution I want to talk about. Without going in and actually implementing everything I've said and, making the story insanely dynamic and very ballistic. Is that a word? Very ballistic? But instead of doing that, one thing they could do to kind of give the illusion of free choice and free will in this game and kind of make the story a lot more dynamic is by creating more origin characters, more customizable origin characters like the Dark Urge. Now, if you don't know who the Dark Urge is, it's a customizable origin character you can play as that gives you a more fleshed out background story. You also get some more unique interactions between some other NPCs, some new cutscenes, and even some new endings depending on some of your choices that no other character can get, no other custom character you can make from scratch can get. Now, technically, you can play as the other companions, the origin characters, but those have severe disadvantages compared to the Dark Urge. Objectively looking at it, like I've done a total of 6 different playthroughs I think so far. I've played through Tav, which is just the character you can make from scratch. I played through the Dark Urge twice. I've played through Gale and I've played through Astarion so far. None of the other origin stories compared to the Dark Urge at all. The Dark Urge just has a way better story and way cooler animations and cutscenes compared to, Gale or Astarion or Karlach or anyone else. Gale's origin story is probably the best out of the companions, but even his is not that good compared to the Dark Urge. So I think a solution that Larian Studios should do in their future game is just straight up don't spend any resources on the companion origin stories. Just scrap them. Just get rid of them. Not a lot of people play them anyways. And instead make more customizable origin characters. I put a huge emphasis on customizable because that's something you can't do if you play as one of the other companions. You can't customize how they look. You can only customize the Dark Urge. That might not seem like a big deal if you're not familiar with these games, but trust me, when you see your character for hours and hours while you're playing this game, in every cutscene and every cinematic and every dialogue interaction, you want your characters to look cool and you want them to look however you want them to look. But yeah, that's just basically what I think they should do. Make more stories like the Dark Urge because it's a really cool story. That's really it for this one. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. If there was anything you disagreed on me about, if there was anything you didn't like about what I said, feel free to comment down below. I love reading my comments and I'll answer whatever questions you guys have. But yeah, that's it for this one. Have a good day. Peace.